The first sprint race of 2025 produced a shock that nobody would have seen coming just under a week ago. But let's dive in as always, guys, with our 5 things review, this time for the 2025 Chinese Grand Prix sprint race. So let's start with Lando Norris. Now, I've put in my notes Norris Nightmare, and that very much does summarise his Saturday morning's running. He started down in P6, which was less than optimal after making a mistake during qualifying yesterday. But it only got worse from there. During the first lap, he was trying to make some places up around the outside during the second braking zone, got too wide, ran off the track, and of course, eventually went all the way down to P9 as a result of that. He did manage to recover to 8th, but he spent a long majority of the race behind Lance Stroll, who, by the way, did a good job for Aston Martin. More on him later. But yeah, it did end up getting 8, got 1 point to his name for this sprint race, but very, very disappointing day for Lando Norris, no doubt. He'll be hoping to bounce back in qualifying later today, but let's see if that actually happens or not. I will, of course, be bringing you all the highlights from qualifying as well later in the day here on F1Chronicle.com. But yeah, I mentioned Lance Stroll there. Aston Martin, just a bit unlucky in general, really. They got 9th and 10th, which would normally bag them 3 points during the Grand Prix, but unfortunately during the sprint race, only the top 8 score points. That being said, Stroll was a good 12 seconds ahead of Alonso during this one. Alonso in 10th place and just a bit anonymous. I mean, you know, Aston Martin aren't looking as bad as we were fearing they were going to be. I thought they'd be almost backmarkers this season, but they're looking like they're going to be around the edge of the points during most races, so fair play to them. It's not looking that bad for Aston Martin. It's not where they want to be by any stretch of the imagination, but it could be a lot worse, to be honest. I'd argue their form towards the end of last year was worse than their form currently in 2025. Carlos Sainz's bad start to Williams very much continues. Of course, he retired from the Grand Prix in Australia last time out due to crashing out early on in that race. But yeah, his bad luck really continues with a mechanical failure putting him out towards the end of the race. He was already pretty far down the order anyway. It wasn't like he was going to trouble the points at that point. Albon outside the points too. He scored nothing, unfortunately, for Williams. So yeah, bad day for Williams, really. And they did manage to get a bit lucky in a sense, though, because some people were talking about them being disqualified after sprint qualifying because their wings, according to the stewards, allegedly actually did flex a bit more than what they were allowed to. Instead, I have been told, according to my sources, that they've been given a fine overnight rather than being disqualified. But yeah, not great, not great. But let's talk about Piastri, though. I think he did a really good job today, to be honest, especially considering how poor his teammate Lando Norris was during the majority of this race. He was up in P2 at the end. He actually had to really bide his time and was quite wise with his tyres, really. Ahead of him, it was Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen. They were battling quite hard, and Verstappen's tyres did fade towards the end of the race, and Piastri just, you know, bided his time, eventually got passed down the DRS straight around the back straight of the circuit and was, yeah, P2 in the end. A long, long way off the winner, but fantastic for Piastri. A really good race for him. I very much think that's a big confidence booster given how Lando Norris did today in the sprint, and that allows him to close that championship gap up a bit between his teammate and him. Still the favourites, I would say, McLaren for the championship, but I'll tell you what, Ferrari are very much in there. Hamilton dominated the sprint race today. He was only ever troubled by Verstappen on 2 occasions, at the very start of the race and around halfway through, where Verstappen was really pushing and really forcing his tyres to actually catch up to Hamilton. He did catch up to him in fairness, but eventually he did fade, and Hamilton won by 7 seconds. A very dominant victory in a sprint race. He looked absolutely incredible. He was mesmeric, and his first win in red is a sprint race. Can he repeat the feat on Sunday afternoon? We'll have to see, and we'll be here to cover it on the F1 Chronicle as always. We'll also be here to cover the qualifying session later today as well, so stay tuned for that, guys. Hope that's entertaining for you. And yeah, what did you think about the sprint race? I thought it was alright. Not amazing. I thought it was alright, though. Not a bad one to catch. But I'm also glad I didn't wake up at 3 a.m. to watch it. That would have been a very tough one to watch live at that time in the morning here in the UK for me personally. But yeah, you'll see in the comments below, guys. And we'll see you soon for some more action through the Chinese Grand Prix weekend. Have a fantastic weekend. And yeah, see you very soon. Like, share, comment, subscribe if you want to see more like this. Appreciate all your support as well, guys. See you soon.